Channel news. First off, my name is Patrick. The channel name is Jack Crafty. Hello, nice to meet you. Some people have never seen the way I look, even though they've watched a bunch of my videos. I do have older videos where I say hi. Anyway, I'm going to do this channel news as a question and answer, right? Because I write down some notes and stuff, but usually it's the notes that I take are too much in depth for easy answers. So I'm going to try to think up some easy answers or easy questions to answer. And if I get too complicated, I mess myself up. That's why I'm not going to go off my notes again. The weather has changed about 6 times today, and the weather has been pretty bad lately. It's been raining for days, and there's still snow. Yeah, we had a good snowfall, and it took some time to melt. But it's going to get extremely cold tomorrow, so I won't be able to do this outside like this easily. But it's changed. The weather's changed today. It was sunny and calm for part of the day. Then it got windy, overcast, and cold. And then it got sunny with snow, and then overcast with snow. And it just stopped snowing as I sat down. Yeah, there was a little bit here coming down. So it's crazy. And I looked at the weather, and the forecast for this winter is going to be weird. Yeah, that's the forecast. Weird winter. Warmer than usual, that's what they say, but we'll see. All right, questions. I'm going to try to remember questions from the comment section. I had one funny one. I think it's funny. Anyway, the question was, do you have any videos on how to make thin points? Or how do you thin points down? This is how I answered that one. All of my videos are about how to thin points down. How to thin. All of them are like that, except for the ones that say stuff like napping a thick point or napping a biface or something. Something that, it's obviously in the title that it's not going to be thin. But all of my videos go over how to thin down the workpieces. You might say, well, some of your videos, the points are not thin. Well, just look at my most recent videos. And the videos where I go over the width to thickness ratio. I try to incorporate the width to thickness ratio in all of my videos now, if I can remember. I can't always remember, and sometimes I don't feel like doing it. But yeah, width to thickness ratio. And what's the typical? My typical when I'm napping without paying attention is 5:1 or 6:1 width to thickness ratio on my points. If I want to get them really thin, it's greater than 6:1. If I don't care about thinness, or if I intentionally make it thick, it's going to be less than 5:1, like 4:1 or 3:1. Width to thickness ratio. Okay? All right, so that hopefully that answers that question. And I do have some videos that have in the title making a thin point or something to that effect. And I have one in particular that does pretty well. That's a really old one. So maybe I should make a video or a series of videos about how to thin points. But I mean, that's all of my videos basically. So I don't know. That'd be redundant. Let's see. Some other questions. Can I make some points that coexisted with Clovis points? Because apparently some people are confused by the fact that there are some artifacts that are projectile points and knives and stuff that are not Clovis that existed right alongside Clovis. What's up with that? And can I make some and do some examples of those? What do they look like? and those kind of questions. Well, they don't look like Clovis points. In most cases, sometimes they do, but they have a variation that makes it non-Clovis-y. Okay, but they look similar. But most of the stuff that existed with Clovis are stemmed. They have a constriction at the bottom of the blade that is used to haft. It's a stem. Clovis has stem also, but it's usually right at the same width as the blade itself, and they just grind it down instead of constricting it. But there are Clovis points that are wasted, like the waist, on a figure, or on a pair of pants. The waist size, the waist of the Clovis is constricted, so to a significant extent, so you can see how it can be wrapped in that area more efficiently, I suppose. Okay? But for the most part, points that existed with Clovis don't look like Clovis, and they usually have stems that are distinct from the blade itself. Very distinct. Okay? And some people are confused about the age of Clovis too. The Clovis has a narrow age range. I've seen stuff like some people say it existed for like 5,000 years, from 16,000 to 11,000 years before the present. No, it's a very narrow range for Clovis. There are similar ones before Clovis that have that lancelet-looking blade to them, and some after Clovis that have that lancelet-looking blade that are not Clovis. And there are certain distinguishing factors or characteristics of Clovis, but mainly how they determine what a Clovis is by the age of the site. Okay? Many times there's nothing just below or just above the Clovis occupation, and then they can date that material in that occupation zone, and they come up with a very narrow range. Now, sometimes there's no clear spots. There's no vacant spots in the stratum or in the ground layers before and after Clovis, and there's a constant occupation. They can still date those, but the forms kind of blend into each other sometimes. Sometimes they don't blend into each other. But those are more difficult to categorize as Clovis, the ones that will blend and hybridize into other types. But the ones that are isolated in one stratum with nothing above or below, those Clovis occupations are very short-lived in most cases. Less than 500 years. That's what I call short-lived. Okay, not 5,000 years. Anyway, I don't think there'll ever be a clearing up of the confusion with Clovis and that kind of thing. Okay? And I'll just continue to get questions on that, and people will continually get confused and mired in misinformation about paleo stuff. But, what can we do? Can't do much. What are some other questions? Mainly about tools. Where do I get the specific tools? Okay. You can ask those questions. I'll give you the specific answers. I make most of my own tools. But lately I've been getting sponsors for the channel, tool makers, like the Nachomatic, for instance. If you don't know what that is, I'll put a link in the description. Or I will post a comment with the link. I just got a bunch more as a gift. Yep, Christmas. It really wasn't for Christmas, but I'm going to chalk it up to Christmas generosity, or maybe it's just shameless marketing. Either way, it's still good. We still need. I need people that are sellers and marketers of stuff for flint knappers, because it makes their stuff more available to everyone. If they're successful in their business, then we have that availability. We can buy tools from them and rocks from them and stuff. It makes everything better. Yes, it does. I don't charge. If you want to advertise them in my comment section or send me an email, can you mention me? I'll mention you. It doesn't cost you anything, because like I said, it benefits all of us. So the costs are hidden, but still there. And they're, it's all good. As I used to say, it's all good. I've been sleeping a lot. Yeah. And I've been on the internet a lot looking at comedy so that I don't get depressed. Yeah, I have been known to be depressed from time to time. But I'm still working secretly. I'm doing stealth projects, okay? In the background, in my shop. I am doing stealth projects, both in the house now and in my shop. Okay, so don't worry. Yeah, depression can reduce productivity. I'm not depressed, I don't think. It's hard for me to tell because of my autism. But I don't think I am, because I still feel productive and it's getting better. The sleep is helping. I'm catching up on sleep because I didn't realize how exhausted I was. And I finally can sleep without the lights on all night. Yeah, I used to have to keep the lights on all night because that's the way my dad liked it. Okay, so let's see. Lecture videos. People wanted me to do some lecture videos on the angles and stuff. Just keep in mind that the angles of striking and pressure are basically all the same. You start with that baseline. Just in your mind, they're not all the same, but in your mind, just picture everything the same and then tweak it for each individual circumstance. Your baseline is it's all the same. Okay? You won't go wrong if you just can set everything up the same and then work from there. Okay? I think that is the most beneficial way to go about the angles and the forces. Just do the same force every time and then tweak it. Hit harder or softer, just from your natural inclination, hit or pressure the edge with just your natural inclination and then tweak it from there. Don't take advice first and then go into it, thinking that, oh, I've got to hit super hard, or, oh, I've got to be super careful. Just use your natural inclination to work the stone, and then from there to start tweaking it. Okay? Your baseline is just do it all the same the way you are doing it to start out with. Okay? Knapping is different from other skills. You'll find out. Don't worry. You'll find out that knapping is different, very different in some cases from other skills. One of the main differences of flint knapping is the management of risk. Everything is a roll of the dice in flint knapping. You never know exactly what's going to happen. Okay. Another question is, what causes the ripples in the surface? I think I've come up with one of the major factors in the ripples in the flake scars is the thinness of the removed flake. The thinner the removed flake, the bigger the chances are for there to be waves or ripples in the flake scar and in the flake itself. Okay? The thinness of the flake. Now, this is not in all cases. It has to do with the material as well. But I think the thinness is the most important consideration. Why? Because if you look at a flake, a removed flake, the thick part very rarely has a lot of ripples. It's the ending of the flake when it starts to get thin that starts to ripple. Okay? That's the number one proof of that statement. It doesn't prove everything, but you know, after looking at thousands of flakes, you realize that the majority of the ripples, if they occur within a flake, are in the thin part of the flake. Okay? The thick part rarely has the ripples. Now, look at artifacts as well, and you'll see as well as modern examples. But a lot of modern examples, if they have a lot of ripples, the ripples start a little bit early, I've noticed, because people try to take advantage of the aesthetic look of the ripples, especially with the flake over grind knapping. They like the rippling throughout the entire flake, not just toward the end. Okay. I don't know how they managed to achieve it. I think it is through the thinness of the flake itself and the flexibility of the flaker. So it's three things: the thickness or thinness of the flake, the material properties itself, if it tends to do that because of the material for some reason, and also the flexibility or sponginess or squishiness or other, shock absorbing properties of the tool make a difference. Shock absorbing or vibration producing, any one of those factors can help to produce more rippling. Okay, I gotta stop doing the little distracting stuff while I'm talking. Some people don't like the knuckle popping. When I'm thinking, I tend to do stuff like tapping and knuckle popping and stuff. I got to try to avoid that stuff. Yeah, I do a lot of explanations on the fly. I have trouble with both explanations on the fly and trouble with reading off my notes. The only time I don't have trouble is if I've shot the video 4 or 5 times and I'm on take number 6 and I've repeated it so many times that I've memorized everything. I don't do that anymore. I used to do that in the beginning. When I messed up, I would retake the video, but not anymore, no. This is the first and last take. The sun looks like it's going to come out here in a second. And there's a few snowflakes. I've got a lot of notes that I already talked about that I haven't crossed out, so I keep reading them over and over again. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, ripples in the flake scar can represent flexibility of the stone as well. Okay. Why are people interested in the ripples in the flake scars? Because it produces a certain aesthetic effect. Or some people also think that you can determine the type of tool used to make it and the technique used to make that artifact if it has a lot of ripples in the flake scars. The answer to that is no. There are different factors. The type of tool, the material of the tool. Yeah, you can kind of do an educated guess on that, but it's also the material, the properties of the material, which you don't know on the artifacts because you don't want to take and destroy the artifact to figure out the material properties, that sort of thing. So there isn't very much proof there isn't the availability of obtaining proof for some of these explanations that people are trying to come up with. You've got to have proof for your idea in order for it to be valid as far as how they were made in the past. You can't just come up with thought experiments and leave it at that. Where do these thought experiments come from? Well, the whole idea of being able to generate a thought experiment and be successful comes from Einstein, who was a master at thought experiments and explaining it mathematically and then being correct. Yeah. But I'll let you in on a little secret. We are not Einstein. Okay? Some people think they are. Anyways, yeah, I kind of neglected my own health when I was taking care of my dad, so I've got some appointments coming up. When you start getting older, there's too many things to check on. If it's not one thing, it's another. But it takes time to get an appointment to go see somebody here if you got something wrong. It takes a month or two, which I guess is kind of good because I'm not going to be all busy all of a sudden. No, all my appointments are scheduled in different times, spread out, because, you can't get an appointment very quickly here, which is kind of good, I suppose. Anyways, what else can I talk about? Things are just popping into my head. And I'll skip some of them that'll pop into my head. Yeah. So if you hear a delay or you see my eyes do this or something like that, it means I've skipped that particular topic. Sometimes that's what that means. Sometimes it's like, I'm drifting. What do I think about now? I don't know. Drifting in a sea of unknown topics or things I can't remember. I'm going to do auctions no matter what this month, even though Christmas is coming and all that, just like always. So I'll try to make more items. I might not be able to because there's other things that I need to catch up on. I'll try to offer more stuff in the auctions. I'm going to set up an indoor studio. And hopefully with an indoor studio, I'll be able to produce more lecture videos and videos that I can shoot in pieces and edit together. Because if it's indoors, I can have it set up and ready to go at different times without spending too much time setting up. I don't know if that makes sense. But for me, I can do a lot more videos if I do them indoors inside a climate-controlled environment or an environment where I can set things out and they're not going to be messed with, or the weather changes are not going to mess with the materials and stuff like that. Okay. So I will set up an indoor studio very soon. Yeah, as soon as I start moving stuff out. Okay. Truck just pulled up across the street. These are fuel oil trucks that when they back up, they make that beeping noise. There's an office right across the street from my house here where they, I guess they dispatch the trucks for heating oil. All right. I keep saying I say the and the because I don't want the pause of dead air. I have these requests to work certain materials, and people are going to send me stuff. I have one guy, I think, is going to send me some more stuff from Europe, Northern Europe. Forgive me, I can't remember the country that, I don't know if it's Denmark or Norway. I don't know, but I'm going to get some more Northern European stone and rocks. And occasionally I get these really difficult rock challenges, so I'm starting to get some more of those. I've been putting those aside just so you know. The more difficult the rock is, the less of a chance I'll get to it quickly. 2 reasons. One, I really don't want to do a really hard rock challenge. I'll do them. And number 2, I've got to practice a little bit before I actually get into it with some of your stuff. Yeah, so it takes a little bit of extra time. It doesn't do anybody any good if I'm napping on a hard to knap stone and it's not working. I've got to be able to show you something that works. Okay. And I sometimes destroy my tools in the process, and I got to come up with new tools or resharpen them and all that kind of stuff. But you can still send me that stuff. Just be aware that I might not get to it right away, and sometimes it might take me years to get to it. Just so you know. Okay. Yeah, everything that I've talked about that I'm going to do, everything I've talked about in the previous videos on the channel news, I'm still going to do those. I got everything written down. I'm just adding to the list, like lecture videos. I don't know if I've mentioned that I'm going to do those, but I'm going to start doing more of those. But I need better lighting. I need a setup that I can just walk into the other room and start filming within 5 minutes. So I don't have to break out the notebook, set up something that's within focus of my camera, where I usually nap, and that sort of thing. If I have it set up already, it's much faster and much easier for me, and I can also think better. If I don't have to be distracted by preparation beforehand, I can think better and actually make a better video. Yeah. I think that's it. Today's soup, again, is chicken. I got an idea from somebody. I don't know where it came from. I think it was on Instagram. You can make a drink with cocoa powder or chocolate without sweetener. You know, this one person was mixing chocolate, unsweetened chocolate, with a protein drink. Now, my soups have protein in them, but they're salty. I'm going to figure out a way to make the soup a little bit sweeter and add chocolate to it. I think that'll be good. Now, why chocolate? Because it's good for people with ADHD. The magnesium and chocolate help with the production of dopamine and some other beneficial chemicals in the brain. Now, I've got more tendency toward autism and ADHD, but I've got symptoms of both. And it runs in my family. Unfortunately, my kids picked up a lot from myself and my ex-wife. We both have the same kind of issues. And it's funny. We're opposite in many ways, but in some ways are very much alike. Okay. Anyways, that's why I deal with that subject, because I think it's important to discuss what you can do as workarounds or as things that help you without medication. Meditation helps too. That reminds me. On the subject of ADHD and the dysfunction as far as executive dysfunction, you just can't do things. You can't motivate yourself to do something unless you like it, and then you're not really motivating yourself to it. It's pulling you to do it. To motivate and push yourself, there's only 3 things that someone with ADHD react to, in my view. Only 3 things are strong enough to move you when you don't want to be moved. One is anger. Another is fear. And another is infatuation, or some sort of novelty or new interest or fascination. Okay, 3 things. Those 3 things. They can motivate you. You can build it up in your mind. And then after you've built that up, you can proceed with what you want to do. Okay? It comes from you. You can generate your own anger. You can generate your own fear. You can generate your own infatuation. Okay? And then do the action. The only one that works for sure, positively all the time, is the anger. Okay? It's the easiest to develop yourself, within yourself. The drawback is that's the worst one to inflict upon yourself, because it does a lot of bad things to your body and your mind. You have to be able to switch it off as fast as you can switch it on. For years, that's the way that I motivated myself, through anger and aggression toward a particular subject. Okay? If I needed to exercise, I'd have to work up some anger and do it. If I wanted to be somewhere on time, I had to become aggressive and ticked off enough to blow everything else off and be on time somewhere. That sort of thing. Okay? The problem with that is to be able to switch it off. You've got to be able to switch it off. Now, if you generate the anger yourself, I found, it's much easier to switch it off because it comes from me. I can turn it on, I can turn it off. If something on the outside makes me upset, that's when I can't turn it off very easily. Okay, so there's a difference there. If it comes from you, it can be used effectively as long as it doesn't last a long time and as long as you have learned to turn it off as quickly as you can turn it on. And it is possible. Now, I don't know if it's possible with everybody, but I think it's possible through practice. And you can also develop the skill of making yourself interested in something. It doesn't last. It lasts maybe an hour or two. Whenever you force yourself to become interested, or force yourself to become angry, or force yourself to become fearful, it doesn't last because then your brain says, you're just trying to fool yourself. Yeah, your brain tells you and realizes you're just trying to fool yourself. And it doesn't last. But within that hour or two, if you can get it done, it works. All right. So that's the workaround that I used to use all the time for getting over the problem of executive dysfunction. And yeah, it affects the Flintknapping. Sometimes I say to myself, this project has been delayed for days and weeks, sometimes months. I've got to get ticked off enough that I'm late to create a sense of aggression and urgency to do it. And if it only takes me an hour or two, I can get it done. Okay, because I don't want that aggression and anger to last a long time. It wears on you, and eventually you become desensitized and prone to anger, okay, or prone to fear, or prone to infatuation. You've got to manage it. And I think meditation helps. I've been reading and listening and watching a lot about meditation, and I think that helps. Yeah. As an exercise, just like any other exercise, like physical exercise can tone certain muscle groups, certain mental exercises tone areas of the brain. Different areas of the brain. Meditation is a different area of the brain than motivation. Okay. I think that's it. I already went over 30 minutes. It's starting to snow again. I can feel the temperature drop too. It's funny because last night it was 32 degrees and raining. Right now it's like 36, 37. Last time I checked, and it's snowing. Doesn't make any sense, right? It should melt the snow when the temperature is above 32, 33, 34 degrees, but today it doesn't. And it's the middle of the day. And last night it was the middle of the night. It was raining like crazy, and it was 32 degrees. Why do I think that's funny? I don't know. That kind of bugs me. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. There was a couple more questions that I can't remember that were pretty good questions, but I'll get to them. I'll probably remember them during a video. A lot of this stuff comes up when I'm Flintknapping and I'm not forcing myself to think about it. It just comes out, and I remember that question now. So don't worry, I'll answer the question, or I'll definitely answer the question in the comment section, but I like to bring it up so everyone can hear it. It's difficult for me to write down the questions when I'm looking at my messages and my comments and my responses, and not my comments, but your comments and your responses, because I'm often not near my notebook when I'm looking, because I'll skip around. I'll look at my text messages. I'll look at my bank account. I'll look at my weather. I'll look at the weather. I'll ask Grok a question. I'll skip around a lot, and I don't have my notebook with me usually when I skip around a lot. And I'll see a question on YouTube, and I won't write it down. And if I sit there and try to answer on or write down the question on paper intentionally, focus on going through my comments. You know, in YouTube Studio, you can click on a comment button and it'll bring up all the comments that people have made. If I sit there and try to focus on doing that, 1 or 2 hours will pass and I've only got maybe 10% of it done. And then by that time, my aggression and focus is worn off. I don't let it linger. And then I've got 1 or 2 questions. That's it. Anyways. Yeah. Why does it take so long? Because I got to think of the responses. And then I'll look around a little bit more. Does anybody else have that kind of question? Can they expand on it? Are there other people that have answered? And I'll look it up also on YouTube. Hey, is there a video on this? Maybe I can just refer this person to a video and it'll answer the question. That happens a lot. You know, they'll ask me a question, but I know a video that I've seen that has the answer, or the whole video is the answer. So I'll look up the other video and then won't write anything down. Yeah. All right. As the weather gets worse, I might be doing these channel news videos inside, but I'd like to do them outside. All right. So for now, they're going to be outside no matter what the weather. Okay. There you go. That's it.